Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Foundations.
Because in it, Peter told men that if they didn't love their wives, that God wouldn't even hear their prayers. Men, you are to love your wives as Christ loved the church. And how was that? Like actually dying if necessary.
Yeah. Foundations. Understanding the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. With Robbo Robinson and Mandy Warby.
In our last program, we looked at the Old Covenant and what the role of women was like in the Old Covenant, and particularly how women were treated in the tribal nations at that time. We looked at Ruth and Rahab and how they were pagan women who embraced the Hebrew faith. But in this program, I'm going to continue looking at the role of women in the Bible, but looking mostly at the New Covenant and what the New Testament says about the role of women.
It's interesting when you compare the Judeo-Christian religious philosophy in the scriptures, basically, and how the Bible refers to women or treats women, and then you juxtapose that with the other religions of the world, be they modern or ancient. You see very, very different standards of ethics. The standards and ethics that God had, he required of both men and women, not just for women, whereas in other religions, men can seemingly do whatever they want. But if a woman even looks at a man, she can suffer greatly. In some cases, she can die for it. Women are seen as commodities in many cultures and religious traditions. Servants, really, even if they come up to that standard. It's been pretty hard for women throughout the ages, but it was the Christian faith or the Judeo-Christian ethic in the scripture, in the Christian and the Jewish Bible, that actually really set the tone for women to be elevated and treated with respect. And we, again, as you said, we talked about Ruth and Rahab. Ruth the Moabitess, so she was a Gentile, and Rahab, she was, lived in Jericho, and she was a prostitute. She was a Gentile. Actually, what I didn't mention yesterday was what's really fantastic about those two ladies is that they're both named in the genealogy of Christ. Yeah. So, our Messiah, our Jewish Messiah, actually has a couple of great-great-great-great-grandmothers who were Gentiles and of questionable origins, shall we say.
Well, they're also mentioned in, I'm not sure about both of them, but certainly Rahab is mentioned in the Hebrews 11 in the Hall of Faith. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the way that, because of their decision to, choose God, he wipes away all that the past.
Yeah, yes, precisely. And what's amazing about that is that gives us hope. I mean, we are Gentiles without hope in the world, Scripture says, until we come to faith in Him. Again, that's very, very different. I mean, if you look at... we wanted to focus on the New Covenant. There are one of the things that's very notable is that when men are named in memoriam, you name them, because they have standing. Well, guess what? Women were named. There were women that you would recognise. There was Tabitha. She's also known as Dorcas. Lydia, Priscilla, various different Marys, Martha, Rhoda. There was the Samaritan woman. We didn't get her name, but she was identified as one of those cursed Samaritans. There was Philip the Evangelist's daughter, Phoebe. There was also Lois and Eunice, Timothy's mum and grandmum. And all of these women mentioned in respectful and honouring ways. So to name them is a real mark of honour. And
not only name them, but in often cases recognise that they were leaders within the church. So they weren't just sort of people that opened their home, but they were seen as active members of the church and leaders within the early church.
Yeah, and that's actually quite remarkable, again, because of the culture that they lived in, the society they lived in, the myriad of different religions that were, legitimised throughout the entire Roman Empire, so many different pagan religions. I mean, in ancient Rome, you could believe in anything and anyone that you wanted to. The only requirement of every single Roman or person living within the empire was that they acknowledged that Caesar was also divine. Well, which, of course, the only people who wouldn't and couldn't do that were Christians and Jews. Yeah. But you could believe anything you wanted to. And along with those religions came the traditions and cultures and the various different social standings. And women were always at the bottom. And one of the very big things for women was temple prostitution. Okay, now that was a big deal for Christians or Gentiles coming to faith.
Yeah.
But the wonderful, amazing thing about the Christian faith is that when a person comes to faith and their slate is wiped clean, they no longer have to live under the stigma or the shame that came with a particular lifestyle or behaviour or whatever. I think one of my favourite stories in the New Covenant is from Luke 7, and it's where the Pharisee invites Jesus to his home. And while they're there, a woman comes in, and she is of questionable character and reputation, and she kneels before Jesus and she cries, and she washes his feet with her tears. She dries his feet with her hair. And the Pharisee, he's sitting across and he's thinking, if this guy was really a prophet, he would know the kind of woman that is touching him. And he's disgusted, he's revolted. And Jesus looks up at him and he says, you know, when I came in here, you didn't offer me anything to wash my feet, and you didn't offer me anything to dry my feet. But since this woman came in, she hasn't ceased to cry on my feet and wash them and dry them with her hair. And then he offers her the one thing that she couldn't get anywhere else, forgiveness. Yeah. She also got acceptance.
Acceptance, that's right.
Which she didn't get anywhere else because the social stigma. I mean, what does it require for a woman in that day and age to become a prostitute? What does it require of a woman today to come and become a prostitute? Very oftentimes it's desperation. Yeah. If you don't have a husband and you don't have a father and no brother, then what do you have? Because you couldn't get a job most of the time. I'm not saying blanketly no woman ever had a job, because that's not true. They did. But for the most part, they didn't. That wasn't socially acceptable. Their social standing in the ancient world was to marry and bear children. And if they couldn't do that, then it was like a shame on them. What else were they going to do? And here Jesus offers them forgiveness. He offers them restoration, redemption, a clean slate where they can start again. Where Jesus, even Paul, he went on to say, when he said there's no Jew nor Greek, there's no male nor female, slave nor free, he wasn't saying, from now on there's no slavery and there's no free men. There's no more Greeks and there's no more Jews. No, he was talking about when it comes to salvation, which is a gift that God gives, God is not going to discriminate between a Jew and a Gentile, a Greek or a Jew, a male or a female, a slave or a free man. Salvation is a free gift given of equal merit. Well, merit from God's part, not on our part. It's a free gift that God gives. And our social standing or our gender makes no difference. That was unheard of in the ancient world. It's little wonder to me, Robbo. I don't understand why more women aren't flocking to the Christian faith. Yeah. Because in it, Peter told men that if they didn't love their wives, that God wouldn't even hear their prayers. They were told that men, you are to love your wives as Christ loved the church. And how was that? By actually dying if necessary. Yeah. Again, unheard of in the ancient world, unheard of. Women are, there is a hierarchy with regard to the family structure, to the church structure. God set that in place. That wasn't a man's rule, that was God's rule. And he said because because Adam was first created, therefore Adam has the head. That's just the hierarchy God created. People get cranky when you say that. Okay, then take it up with God because it's his word. I didn't write it. It's just the way it is. So what? Men and women are different. We have different roles. So what? Not everybody can be a chief. That's the way God structured it. But in this particular belief system that we have with God, when according to his scripture, women are elevated, they're to be loved, respected, protected, cherished. That is unheard of within the rest of the world.
Yep, sure is. Well, it's a great reminder about the role of women in both the Old and New Covenant. And next time on the program, we're going to be having a look at Jewish logic. That's next time on Foundations.
This has been Foundations, a look at the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. For study notes, resources and more, see vision.org.au/foundations.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.